Hey y'all, and welcome back to a new video. Today we're going to be looking at a chess game that I played recently, which was one of the most absurd games I've played in a long time, which involved many different piece sacrifices. I sacrificed 3 pawns, I sacrificed a knight, a rook, I think, many different sacrifices. It was incredible. All right, we're just gonna get started with the video. I start off the game with d4. My opponent goes knight f6, and I enter the bishop g5 Trompowsky attack, which is one of my favorite openings in chess. It's very combative. I'm just basically saying that, okay, my opponent isn't going to be able to naturally develop because there's going to be this nasty pin over here, and I'm always going to have ideas of taking the knight. And there's some very interesting ideas. First of all, one of the main line here is e6. I like playing e4, h6, takes, and knight here. My queen is already out. It's very dynamic. It's exactly the position that I like. And I like this variation a lot because also it has one very sneaky line, which is after knight e4, white likes to play this very interesting move, pawn to h4, which is the raptor variation named after a dinosaur. I know, very cool. Everyone loves dinosaurs. And basically, if black takes the white bishop here, we take back with the pawn, we get the open h file, and actually white goes for a kingside attack with f4, e3, knight f3, and king f2 in many lines, and we get into some very fun chess. That's kind of what I wanted for this game, but unfortunately my opponent decided to go a little bit different. He plays with c5. I have to play pawn to d5. This is all theory. If I don't play pawn to d5, if I do something else, it's normally just bad. We don't want to get involved with that. There's lines with queen a5 going after this in some variations. We just don't want to get involved with that. So anyway, pawn to d5 is the main line. Pawn to d6, knight to d2 is what I normally play. If knight d2, we take back with the queen, and white just has a bunch more development than black, so white would be better. Black decides to take the bishop. H takes g5, pawn to g6, and I play this very interesting move, pawn to f4, as I know that it's one of the most logical moves in the position. I'm simply safeguarding my pawn against any stray advances in the center here to open up his queen, and I'm going to play normal chess. I'm going to put the king on e2, knight on f3, pawn on e3, and I'm going to go after the king side with my open h file. Very natural, exactly what I just said. But here, for some reason, I was playing a little bit quickly. And after bishop to g7, instead of playing the very natural move pawn to c3, which is obviously the best move, I'm just blunting the bishop and I'm keep control of those squares, and then I can do what I want on the next turn. I decided to get a little bit insane, as I was playing a lot of blitz recently, and I've been playing very tactically. I decided to sacrifice the b2 pawn with the move pawn to e3. As you can see, it's a bit of an inaccuracy, because after bishop takes b2, rook b1, he comes back. Really, white does get a lot of development for the pawn, but white doesn't have a very easy plan of attack, and it's not the easiest position to play. So I'm not actually any better at all. I'm just worse. Bishop takes b2 after a minute of thought, 30 seconds of thought. Rook to b1, bishop back to g7, and I decide, okay, what I have done, I've sacrificed the pawn for basically nothing. I have the open b file, I have more development with my pieces like this, and my opponent only has one out. So what do I have to do? I have to get really active here. I have to get all my pieces out immediately. I'm going to go for an interesting idea. I'm going to play this move bishop to d3. And the point of this move, I spent a little bit of time on this, is I have this idea in the future that I want to play pawn to g4 and pawn to f5. And I want to break apart his king side, maybe play f6, maybe take on g6. And I'm trying to get some attack going, because I'm up on development, I'm down a pawn, I have to go for something right now. My opponent goes queen a5, logical move, going after the knight here, hitting the pawn here. He might be wanting to play this and trade a bunch of pieces, which I can't really allow. So I thought for a little while, and I played king to f2, which I think makes a lot of sense, sacrificing a second pawn on a2. But my king is in a good spot. I'm defending everything. My king is very safe here, and now there's no more pin on my knight. My opponent takes the pawn on a2, and now I decide to go with my plan. Pawn to g4. We're trying to get into the game here. Pawn to f5 approaching. We're trying to make something happen. We have been delaying our knight for exactly this reason of pawn to g4, so we play it now. We could be playing something else. Really, we probably should be playing something else. We should be playing something like knight c4. Getting onto the queen side, trying to get my opponent's king to castle. So if he castles, then I know where he's gonna be. I understand now. Okay, Now I'm going to start focusing on this side of the board. You've given me information. I have these files. Maybe now I can play something like pawn to g4, and I can go with this attack now instead of later. Pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable. But instead of that, I decided to go for it now, which I thought makes sense. And the point is that his king is still in the center, so now is the right point to attack. And I'm trying to play f5, f6. And if I'm being completely honest, I thought that I've been playing pretty accurately so far. I'm down a pawn. I'm down 2 pawns, but I really, really like white's position, and I don't think that black has enough to get into the game. With this bishop being bad, his knight being unable to get into the game like this, and his rook being stuck. So this whole side of the board is kind of paralyzed by my pieces, and really, for like the most part of this game, black is only going to have 2 pieces developed, while I'm going to have all of my pieces developed, because this knight is going to get in the game, this knight is in the game already, this bishop is in the game, rook is in the game, queen is in the game, rook is in the game, all of my pieces are in the game, and he has nothing. He has 2 to 6. So I think white should be probably slightly better here. Engine thinks otherwise, because Engine is a downer, and Engine likes to rain on my parade, but it doesn't matter. Pawn to g4, I sacrifice another pawn on d5. It's kind of funny because I didn't actually realize this pawn was hanging until after I played pawn to g4. But for the most part, I thought that my opponent couldn't take this pawn because, if I'm being honest, it looks like white is getting even more development for the pawn. I immediately play this move bishop to e4, which I think just makes so much sense. Honestly, the computer thinks it's fine. See, minus 1.3 to minus 1.5. It's really not that big of a mistake as the computer thinks, as the game review engine thinks. And the point is, I'm just going over to this. I'm going over to here, and there's really big issues. In fact, black only has 1 move in order to survive, and he misses it. He has to play queen to e2. Instead, he plays queen to e6. And this allows white to get a very, very strong advantage right away. And white is actually already in a much, much better position, despite being down 3 pawns. And it's all about the pawn on b7. If I can get at that pawn properly, I will win the game. Unfortunately, I missed the correct move. I have to play queen f3. Point is, it stops the move e5. I'm going after the pawn. My next move is taking it. My opponent probably plays something like knight a6, for example. And now I can immediately, like, for example, I can take this pawn, but taking is actually wrong here. I should be going down the center. I should be playing this move f5 because queen f3 is a double-edged move. Sure, it targets this, but I'm also going here. After gf5, white is just much, much better. Queen a2, I can play f6. For example, takes, bishop f8. I mean, if we're looking at this position, my opponent's king is stuck in the center. It's game over. I mean, even trying to calculate, maybe not that move. Thinking this, but I think this might be bad for me after queen c2. I'm actually doing fine if I just sack my other knight, which is kind of funny. I can just sack everything anyway. But anyway, yeah, this position is completely winning. But I missed queen f3. And I instead decided to play f5 immediately, which is the wrong approach, because after f5, which I thought was very, very natural, after gf5, I was like, oh, my position is great. My position is just amazing. I'm going to go down the center. I'm going to play this move like f6. I play g6 or something. He's going to have to go all the way to a2. I'm going to get some tempo off on his queen. While he does that, life is good. Yeah, but this doesn't work. It doesn't work at all because of queen d7, and he defends this pawn. But he doesn't play this move. He goes queen to e5, allowing me to get another tempo off on his queen with a very easy move, knight gf3. And after queen to c3, white is easily winning. It's actually over. It's game over if I find a couple more accurate moves. But before I find those couple more accurate moves, I decided to play something that I thought made a lot of sense. I throw in an intermezzo. I play f takes g6. And all my advantage is gone. I have to go right now. I have to play rook takes b7. And I saw this move. Like, I didn't miss it. I just thought that I played gf6 first, fg6 first, and then life is good, and I'm going to be able to get everything together. But for some reason, I missed that there's a difference here. After hg6, rook takes bishop h8. After rook takes b7, bishop takes b7, takes knight a6. I can play bishop c3 check first, no, bishop takes a8, knight b4. The difference here is that with the rook over there, I'm going to have ideas to play this move pawn to f6 at some point. And I'm going to be able to make sure that my opponent's dark sword bishop is kind of dying, and life is good. Because if he goes like this, then he opens up this, and I get moved like knight to e4. But in this line, where I already traded everything, I don't get knight to e4, I don't get f6. So it doesn't work anymore. But anyway, I don't play rook takes b7 because I'm kind of an idiot, and I instead play bishop takes b7. And already my position is losing because I miscalculated. For some reason, I thought rook takes b7 was just not as good because I thought that I kind of hallucinated. For some reason, I thought the rook was defended. So I was only getting the exchange back, and it really wasn't a difference. I kind of hallucinated there. A little stupid, but it's fine. I still get a very interesting position after bishop takes b7, and if I'm being completely honest, I still really like white's position, because bishop takes b7, rook takes b7, white is very close to winning the game. White has this rook on the 7th rank. Life is very good for here. I'm going to play the move knight e4. I'm going to have sacrifice ideas. I'm going to get my queen in the game. There's going to be problems up here. I'm also looking always at this move like queen here, and mating him. So I'm looking at all this stuff, and I'm thinking, oh, white's just winning. White's just got to be winning. White's just much better. The only way for black to survive is knight to d7 here, which is already insane. And the point is that he's kind of blocking my rook, and now I can't get at his king, and he's winning. Whatever, doesn't really matter. My opponent doesn't see that. He plays knight c6, and it's game over already. It's game over already. And I find a very nice idea. First, easy move, knight to e4. Hit the queen. My opponent has no way of going after my knight besides this move. But that move doesn't really work. That move isn't going to scare anybody because I can just move my knight. I can take on d6, which is my main idea. And I'm really not worried about this move. I feel like there's even rook e7 here. Ooh, pretty. Ooh. Yeah, but no, I don't think queen c4 is scaring anybody. But my opponent plays queen to a1, which makes the most sense. And I decided to get a little flashy here. Queen d5 is the top engine move. This wins the game on the spot. Because the knight is hanging. I'm going after his king with knight to d6 ideas, and the pawn is on f7 is getting destroyed. But I decided to go knight takes d6 instead. And the difference here is that there's one way for black to survive this position, but he's going to have to lose a lot of material. He doesn't go for it. After e takes d6 and queen takes d6, it's not as easy here to survive because my opponent has queen to a2. Very lucky, but I just think the position is already good for me because after king f8, I have this move rook e7, queen e7, and take. And I just evaluated this as just winning because my opponent's pawns are split. I'm already up a pawn. Sure, it's this pawn, but I should be doing quite well. And I thought this position was already that good. My opponent didn't go for that, though. My opponent played king to f8. And now the first dagger, queen to d5. Danger levels. Just danger levels. I allow the knight on d6 to hang while I'm attacking the knight on c6. If he takes this, it's actually even worse than that because queen f7 is now mate. Since you've opened up my rook, I'm threatening mate anyway because the knight is here and you can't take the knight. So I sacrifice a knight for another move. And after the move knight to d8, defending the square, the only move to survive here, I play, well, it's not the only move. I guess there's queen g7, but you're just losing everything after, I mean, many things. You're just losing. You're just losing here. Take my word for it. After knight d8, which is the move that makes the most sense, the final dagger, the final sacrifice piece of this game, I play rook to d7. I sacrifice my knight for a third turn in a row, and I'm threatening to sacrifice my rook, takes, and mate him. And if he doesn't allow that, at the end of the day, like for example, I think the line e takes d6 is here. I'm also attacking his rook on a8. And it's just checkmate. I'm winning the pieces. All of his pieces are gone. All of his pieces are gone. Queen g7, mate in 1. All of his pieces are gone. And it's over. And this I think, was a very cool game that I played. I feel like the accuracy should have been a lot higher than what it was. I think if we go to game review, I played at 69.7% accuracy, which is really bad. but I'm very, very happy with these sacrifices. I really, really like this move, knight takes d6. I really like it. I don't care that queen d5 is slightly better or is much better, but I think knight d6 is really cool. I like sacrificing my knight again and then sacrificing it another time. And yeah, this all started because I was down 3 pawns in an opening and went full on forward activity. Either way, that's all I've got for you today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you guys found this entertaining, instructive, all of the above. If you did, remember to like, subscribe. I told on really YouTubers to tell you to. And yeah, that's it. Good evening and good night.